The story begins in a bustling town. My name is Min Trak Fong. On the surface, I'm a scrap collector. In reality, I am indeed a scrap collector, but I have another secret identity. That is the person with a renowned reputation in the martial arts world, a Jianghu Records official. Trak Fong swaggered up to an old stall and asked in a teasing tone, "How about it, boss? Show some respect for this identity of mine." The old shopkeeper glanced at her disdainfully and immediately retorted, "So what? You think I'm afraid of you just because you're high and mighty, Miss Trak?" Although his words were tough, the old man's hand still pulled a tattered old book from under the table and handed it to her. His tone held a hint of complaint mixed with helplessness. The Jianghu Records officials are the only official force that can move freely in the martial arts world. Every word and action represents the image of the entire officialdom. This kind of malicious price gouging, this immoral behavior of disturbing a place of business. Can you tone it down a bit? The more he spoke, the more aggrieved he felt, and he shouted in frustration. A person has to have limits, you know? Trak Fong quickly snatched the manual, her face beaming as she replied cheerfully, "Uncle, since you already know I have no limits, don't make me break through them even further. Knock off one more coin." The curious crowd around them heard the commotion and gathered, pointing and whispering. Isn't the Jianghu Records official a subordinate of the Martial Forest Guard? The ones who collect all sorts of secret martial arts techniques for the imperial court? What's there to be so arrogant about? Exactly. The other records officials go to the major sects to steal, rob, kidnap, and swindle. Now that's how you show the court's might. But you're something else. Every day you wander into our old goods market to challenge yourself. The key point is you're dirt poor. Last time, you haggled with me over a single coin for the time it takes 2 incense sticks to burn. Hearing these whispers, Trak Fong just snorted in disdain. Then she turned to the shopkeeper, baring her fangs and claws to threaten him. "Old man, 3 coins. Are you selling or not?" Scared out of his wits by her overwhelming presence, the old man helplessly let Trak Fong take it. Witnessing this, a man beside him came over, massaging the old man's shoulders while asking with curiosity, "Senior brother, you actually gave her the original copy? Are you completely prepared to just lie down and wait for death?" The old shopkeeper finally let out a sigh of relief. He chuckled and replied, "We've been practicing that set of fist techniques for over a decade without success. I think there's no hope left for the Southern Fist sect to be revived. It's better to give it to a fated person who knows good stuff when they see it." Meanwhile, in a dilapidated temple on the outskirts of the city, Trak Fong was examining the tattered book in her hand, feeling smug. The Southern Fist sect really poured their heart and soul into hiding the true manuscript. They even jumbled up all the moves and inner cultivation methods and rearranged them. It's a good thing this young lady has a discerning eye. Otherwise, I would have missed this peerless fist technique manual. I'm just too brilliant and clever. Finishing her narcissistic train of thought, Trak Fong put the book away and happily ran off. La, dime for dinner. But before she could take more than a few steps, she suddenly screamed. Holy crap! Right before her eyes, Trak Fong discovered a child lying unconscious. His face was grimy, and his clothes were a mess. Seeing this, Trak Fong cautiously tiptoed closer to observe him with reservation. What's going on here? Is he alive or dead? Faced with a dilemma, she was having an intense internal struggle. First rule of roaming the Jianghu: never meddle in other people's business. Those who wander the Jianghu can't avoid getting hurt. The Jianghu is treacherous. It's best to avoid any trouble you can. Are you an idiot? If someone hadn't saved you when you were little, you'd have been pushing up daisies long ago. And now you're going to see someone dying and not save them? Has your conscience been eaten by a dog? The two conflicting thoughts tore at her, making Trak Fong's face scrunch up the more she thought. Finally, unable to take it anymore, she clutched her head and shouted in frustration, "Shut up! All of you, shut up for me!" Night gradually fell. The child was now curled up, sleeping fitfully in the abandoned temple. A moment later, his eyelids fluttered and he groggily woke up. Trak Fong was sitting by the fire, grilling a fish. Seeing the child awake, she turned to check on him. "Little devil, you're awake? How are you feeling?" The child opened his big, sparkling eyes and looked at her, stammering in a weak voice, "Big sister." Hearing that sweet call, Trak Fong gently placed her hand on the child's forehead to check his temperature. She said softly, "What's with little devils these days? Calling me big sister right after we meet. Also, who beat you up like this?" They were really ruthless. At the mention of his past, the child sighed in despair. "I never thought that the people who knew me would all want me dead, while a complete stranger would save me." Hearing this, Trak Fong suddenly made a blunt statement. "So you should reflect on yourself." The child, completely clueless, asked back, "Other people hurt me. Why should I have to reflect on myself?" Trak Fong casually replied, while applying medicine to the child's wounds, "Little devil, those who wander the Jianghu can't avoid getting hurt. But if you're always getting into trouble, then it's your fault. Think about it. If you don't reflect on yourself, who will? Looking at your clothes, even though they don't fit well, they're from a wealthy family, yet now you've been harmed, and you have no one to rely on. Tell me, just how many people hate you on a daily basis?" Her words hitting a sore spot, the child pouted aggrievedly and replied, "Big sister is not wrong. In this world, a Nan has no one left to rely on." After speaking, the child suddenly looked up and used his old trick. With sparkling eyes, he looked at Trak Fong and asked, "Big sister, can you take me in?" Seeing that puppy dog look, Trak Fong's heart was moved, and she said, "It's not impossible." So cute. The next morning, as the sun had just begun to rise, Trak Fong was still sound asleep. She groggily woke up and saw the person in front of her suddenly screaming in alarm. "What is that thing?" Looking at the strange, large, naked man before her, Trak Fong couldn't help but curse. Damn it. Awakened by the scream, the man suddenly woke up and, quick as a flash, grabbed Trak Fong's leg and pinned her down. He leaned close to her ear and said in a low, devilishly charming voice, turning hostile right after we slept together, "Big sister, you're so heartless." The man continued to press his body down on Trak Fong's and whispered in her ear again, "You were really tossing and turning last night, big sister. It took a lot to coax you to sleep. Why do you want to hit someone as soon as you wake up?" Being pinned in such an ambiguous position, the anger in her heart flared violently. She thought through gritted teeth, "I'm about to go crazy." She decisively kicked hard at her opponent's groin. The man, struck by the painful blow, still managed to groan theatrically. "Big sister, you have no restraint at all. A kick like that. Are you trying to make your little brother unable to have children?" Hearing the words little brother, Trak Fong became even more furious. She grabbed the man's collar tightly and yelled, "Stop running your mouth. Who the hell are you, kid? Where's my cute little brother? Where did you hide him? Explain yourself honestly." Seeing how fierce she was, the man's face brightened up, and he quickly explained, "My name is a Tuesday. The person you saved yesterday is my younger brother. He was seriously injured, so my servants took him home for treatment." Hearing this, Trak Fong brought her face close, squinting to carefully examine his features. Same hair color, same eye color, 90 similarity. A strange thought suddenly arose in her heart. This gaze, it seems to be looking through me at someone else. Trak Fong loosened her grip, let him go, and asked, "Then why are you here, kid?" Atu quickly replied with a righteous expression, "Our family upbringing is strict. Our parents have always taught us that a debt of kindness must be repaid. So I specifically stayed behind to repay big sister for saving my little brother's life." Trak Fong, while putting her clothes back on, replied coldly, "A life-saving debt to be repaid with your body? Your method of repayment is truly unique. Forget it. Do as you please. I can't be bothered to care." With that, she was about to walk out nonchalantly when Atu suddenly blocked her way and quickly explained, "Last night, big sister kept talking in her sleep. Atu had no choice but to sleep with you to calm you down. Big sister won't blame Atu, right? Her sore spot having been hit." Trak Fong's face turned beet red. She waved her hands in embarrassment and said, "I'm not talking nonsense with you anymore. Go, let's go get breakfast." Suddenly, a sarcastic voice came from outside. "Such a simple breakfast. Why don't I, your humble servant, treat you to a grand feast, young lady?" When Trak Fong heard this, her eyes lit up and she replied excitedly, "A grand feast? A table for how many?" She cheerfully threw the door open and called out, "Whose feast is it?" But what met her eyes was not a lavish banquet at all. Instead, she saw many ferocious men pointing their swords at her. Trak Fong yelped in shock, "What the hell? This looks like they want to have a feast of me." The leader spoke up, seething with anger. "Min Trak Fong, let's see where you run this time. Hand over the Dugu Six Swords Manual, or I'll kill you." Hearing the familiar name, Trak Fong searched her memory, recalling the events of 3 days prior. "Congratulations. You too. Successful exchange. Thinking this, she shrugged with an innocent expression and said, "This esteemed senior brother, this young lady here has a photographic memory. The Dugu 6 Swords manual I gave you, every move was drawn according to the original. Although that sword manual was a bootleg copy, it was definitely not a fake." Hearing this, the man's face became extremely grim, radiating killing intent. Seeing the tense situation, Trak Fong still tried to act calm and said with a cheerful smile, "As the most outstanding Jianghu record official in Tutuan Nation, I have countless original copies in my possession. I'll trade you for a new one, and we'll consider this matter closed. How about it?" The other men remained silent, their swords pointed at her. The circle tightened, even closer than before. It seemed to be a stern warning. The man at the front sneered sinisterly, "Killing you will also end this matter. Moreover, we can have all the secret manuals in your possession for ourselves." Trak Fong let out a weary sigh. When roaming the Jianghu, righteousness comes first. If you people are so shameless, you'll be cast out by the Jianghu. In her mind, she calculated, since things have come to this, I'll have to use my ultimate move. Suddenly, Trak Fong quickly used 2 fingers to pinch Atu's nose, who was standing beside her. She immediately pulled a pitch-black pellet from her clothes and shouted, "Have a taste of my secret family recipe." With that, Trak Fong threw it hard onto the ground, creating a thick cloud of smoke that enveloped the surroundings. The group of people who had just been hit by the strange smoke immediately coughed violently and began to curse loudly. "Damn it, what the hell stinks so bad? Did someone's latrine explode? It stinks so much I can't even open my eyes." Trak Fong seized the opportunity to grab Atu's hand and run for their lives, crying inwardly as she ran, "This is karma. I'll never deal in pirated books again." After a while of weaving through alleys, Trak Fong and Atu were now hiding in a secluded corner. She turned and explained breathlessly that rotten egg was a defective product. As expected, it couldn't hold them off for long. "You hide here and don't move. I'll go distract them. We'll meet at the abandoned temple after dark." Hearing the familiar words, Atu recalled a painful memory from his past. Long ago, someone else had said the same thing to him. "Little brother, hide here and don't move. I'll go distract them." He frantically reached out to stop her. "Big sister, don't go." But Trak Fong had already dashed away. As her figure disappeared, Atu's face darkened, his eyes changing as if he had transformed into a different, murderous person. The assassins, having lost their target, were still searching relentlessly. The leader roared, "Find her. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find Min Trak Fong for me." Atu suddenly strolled out from the shadows, coldly interrupting. "My big sister wants to have a feast, so I can only ask for your cooperation." With that, he rushed forward like a gust of wind, the blade of his sword flashing, slitting each person's throat. His movements were so fast that most of the group had collapsed before they could even cry out. Meanwhile, on the other side, 2 remaining assassins had found Trak Fong. They sneered, "Let's see where you can run now." She tightly gripped the dart in her hand, sweat drenching her forehead as she worried inwardly. "I'm still not very skilled at this. I must calculate the distance and hit the target in one strike. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll die here today." One of them didn't wait long, rushing forward with his sword and shouting, "Go to hell." In that life or death moment, Trak Fong closed her eyes and told herself, "Before I find my big sister, I absolutely cannot let anything happen to me." Suddenly, a sharp sword stroke appeared out of thin air, intercepting the 2 assassins' swords. A mysterious man with an imposing aura descended from the sky. The man rushed forward, neatly dispatching the 2 men, targeting Trak Fong in the blink of an eye. Then he turned and wrapped an arm around her waist protectively. Trak Fong looked up in astonishment at the man before her. Her heart skipped a beat, her eyes lighting up. Recognizing the face of the man who had just saved her, Trak Fong exclaimed, "Your big brother Tuan." The man sheathed his sword and replied coldly with a single word, "Me." Unable to hide her joy, Trak Fong excitedly moved as if to hug him, saying, "It really is Big Brother Tuan. Big Brother Tuan, why are you here? Is old Mr. Ha still healthy? Does everyone still remember me?" But Tuan bluntly held up a hand to stop her and said sternly, "Men and women should not be so familiar. Have you no sense of shame?" Despite being rejected, Trak Fong continued to tease, "Tell me, go on, do you remember me?" Just then, Atu stepped out from the shadows. His face was grim as he asked, "Big sister, who is he?" Track Fong cheerfully turned to explain, "It's all right, a Tuesday. He is my superior, Imperial Guard, Atuan Lorda." She then glanced at the two corpses on the ground and asked curiously, "Where are the accomplices of these two? Aren't they chasing us?" Atu averted his gaze slightly and said evasively, "They were all killed by someone." Hearing this, she rushed over in a panic, patting him all over to check on him. "Killed by someone? Are you okay then? Are you hurt anywhere?" Hearing this, Atu seized the opportunity to put on a pitiful act, his voice trembling as he replied, "I'm not okay. Their bodies are scattered everywhere. I was so scared." Tuan, standing nearby, narrowed his eyes in observation, then stepped forward to expose him. This little brother's breathing is steady, his steps are nimble, and he doesn't look scared at all. Immediately, Atu and Tuan glared at each other with annoyance. Standing between them, Track Fong sensed the strange atmosphere and thought, "Weird, this atmosphere seems to be developing in a very unfriendly direction." Seeing the two looking tense, Track Fong worriedly advised in a soft voice, "Honestly, can you two maintain a safe distance?" But it was as if the two didn't hear her, continuing to stare at each other with fire in their eyes. Seeing herself being ignored, Track Fong's face gradually grew annoyed as she growled, "The last time I was this speechless was the time before this. Can we talk normally now?" With that, she used her hands to push their faces close together. The sudden action made Tuan flusteredly back away. He regained his serious demeanor and asked, "Where on earth is this person from? What is his name, and why is he with you?" Track Fong casually shrugged and replied, "His name is a Tuesday. I saved his younger brother, so he's following me to repay the kindness. Is there a problem?" Hearing this, Tuan immediately stepped forward worriedly to question her. "And you just let him follow you like that? Aren't you afraid he has other intentions?" Track Fong quickly waved her hands to explain, "Calm down. What other intentions could someone have with me? 1, I have no money, and 2, I have no. Don't tell me you want something?" As she spoke, she glanced at Atu with a scrutinizing look. Back at the abandoned temple, Track Fong bandaged Tuan's wound while reminding him, "Don't you be getting any funny ideas." He calmly replied, "You should be more reserved." Atu, standing nearby, saw the intimate scene and seemed a little unhappy. Atu then changed the subject, asking, "Looking for the secret manual of the Wan Yun sect, the Tianxing Yuan Dian?" Track Fong nodded in confirmation and replied, "That's right, these are the mission details. The Tianxing Yuan Dian is currently being fiercely contested by various parties. This trip will definitely be extremely dangerous, fraught with peril. It would be best if you didn't go, big sister." Hearing his advice, she thought to herself, "Besides, my big sister's disappearance back then is closely related to the Wanyan sect. I absolutely cannot pass up this opportunity to get close to this demonic sect." Tuan sternly interrupted, "This mission is a secret order directly from His Majesty the Emperor, so I will assist you throughout the entire journey." Track Fong played along, replying coquettishly, "Then I'll have to trouble Big Brother Tuan to protect a weak woman like me." With that, she slung the basket on her back, turned around excitedly, and said, "All right, the mission is urgent. Let's set off." Inwardly, Track Fong rejoiced. This life of doing personal business with public funds is something I could really get used to. The three of them set off together, each with their own determination. After a short distance, Tuan suddenly turned and asked, "We're not on a scenic tour. Why are you still following us?" Atu cheerfully replied, with an innocent face, "I can chat with Big Sister to relieve her boredom, and I can also protect her. Big Sister definitely won't chase me away, right?" Track Fong also casually defended him. "If he wants to follow, just let him. If we run into something we can't handle, he can run away at any time. Besides, he's so shameless. Even if we chase him away, he'll still find a way to tag along." By now, the group of three had stopped to rest. Tuan spoke up, probing, "Speaking of which, I see this little brother has a dignified and handsome appearance. May I ask which sect you come from?" Atu replied in a soft voice, a murderous glint flashing in his eyes, "No sect at all. I just learned a few martial arts moves to avoid being killed by others, and also make it convenient to kill others." The last few words seemed to be emphasized for Tuan's benefit, who also seemed to become wary and suddenly adopted a ready sword stance. Hearing the others taunt, Tuan became annoyed and belligerently asked, "Do you want to fight?" "This eye's always ready." Seeing his aggressive stance, Atu quickly waved his hands and replied, I was just joking. Why does Big Brother want to fight and kill? Trak Fong, walking ahead, heard the commotion behind her and rubbed her forehead in exasperation. Here we go again. These two must have been enemies in a past life. Atu put on a pitiful face like an abandoned puppy and said, Big sister, this Big Brother is so fierce. I'm so scared. Tu On, beside him, gritted his teeth in anger. One day, I will rip that mask off your face. Siding with the weak, Trak Fong turned to glare at Tu On, then scolded Atu. If you're scared, why did you provoke him? You're so smart you become stupid. Huh? Hearing this, Atu felt a little guilty and scratched his head with an awkward laugh. Suddenly, shouts rang out from behind. They're over there. Kill them. By reflex, Trak Fong, who was in front, immediately turned to flee, muttering, to run into enemies in such a perfect feng shui spot. My luck today must be top tier. Let's scram. However, the fierce robbers didn't target the three of them, but rushed straight towards the luxurious carriage up ahead. Seeing herself being ignored, Trak Fong stopped, put her hands on her hips, and said irritably, They're not even my enemies, yet they dare to be so aggressive. They're really asking for a beating. Tu On, beside her, shook his head wearily. You haven't even learned a bit of martial arts. I really don't understand how you've managed to stay alive in the Jianghu all these years. Feeling looked down upon, she retorted with a pout. This lady has plenty of ways to preserve her life. You'll have a chance to be jaw-droppingly amazed later. Atu suddenly squeezed in between them, his face beaming with a fawning smile. From now on, Big Sister has a Tuesday. Atu will definitely protect you well. At this moment, the robbers had surrounded the carriage. The leader declared boldly, Capture the person in the carriage, kill all the others. Watching from a distance, Trak Fong noticed what the two carriage guards were carrying at their waists. She narrowed her eyes and thought, a token from the Feng Mu sect. I was just worrying about not having an excuse to go to the Feng Mu sect. Since you've delivered yourselves to my doorstep, this lady will have to accept. With that thought, she turned and grabbed Atu's sleeve, pleading with shimmering, teary eyes. Good A2, we'll deal with future matters later. For now, can you chase away those 6 masked men? Unable to resist her gaze, Atu happily nodded and replied, Okay, Big Sister, rest here for a moment. Atu will go and be right back. With that, he decisively drew his sword and went to deal with the robbers. His movements were nimble and extraordinary. After finishing, Atu didn't forget to add a cold threat, either die or get lost. The robbers, beaten to a pulp, clutched their bloody heads and left resentfully, not forgetting to look back and curse. You little brat, just you wait. After the fight, Atu retracted his murderous aura and returned with the demeanor of a happy puppy, announcing, Big Sister, I'm back. Trak Fong also gave him a thumbs up and praised, absolutely brilliant. Tu On, who had been observing from the side, spoke up with his assessment. Those 2 young heroes are definitely not ordinary guards. Even if he hadn't intervened, those masked men might not have succeeded anyway. Trak Fong, beside him, also leaned in and whispered an explanation. You'll soon understand my intention in letting him act. For now, hurry up and pretend to be sick. Tu On asked blankly, but why? But before he could finish his sentence, Atu, quick as a flash, landed a painful punch right in Tu On's stomach, causing him to double over. Atu turned to Trak Fong and asked cheerfully, Big Sister, doesn't Big Brother look more like a sick person now? Tu On was in so much pain he couldn't speak. Angrily clutching his stomach, he trembled and pointed at Atu, unable to get the words out. You brat. Atu immediately hid behind Trak Fong, putting on an aggrieved expression. I just wanted Big Brother's act to be a little more convincing. You're not mad at me, are you? A few minutes later, once the situation had stabilized, the 2 guards finally approached to express their gratitude. Many thanks to the 3 great heroes for lending a hand. The 2 guards introduced themselves, respectively, as Tin Bok, the first disciple of the Feng Mu sect, and the one beside him, Lam Mok, the second disciple of the Feng Mu sect. Tin Bok clasped his hands respectfully and asked, May I ask for the names of the 3 great heroes? One day, we will surely have our sect leader come to thank you personally. Seizing the opportunity, Trak Fong quickly replied, This place is backed by mountains, sheltered from the wind, and gathers energy. You 2 have also just luckily escaped death. If you could use this auspicious land to repay the favor here, then should you encounter disaster in the future, you might also be able to turn misfortune into fortune. Tin Bok, flustered, scratched his head and asked this. How does the young lady wish for me to repay you? Trak Fong immediately fabricated a story. My older brother has suffered an internal injury. We were planning to take him to the Feng Mu sect for treatment. I see that you two young heroes are disciples of the Feng Mu sect. I wonder if you could give us a ride? Hearing this, Tu on beside her whispered in alarm, "We're on a mission. What are we going to the Feng Mu sect for?" Trak Fong glanced at him before replying softly, "If you want to complete the mission, then listen to me." Hearing the request, Tin Bok showed a difficult expression and said aloud, The Jianghu has been chaotic recently. Forgive me, but I cannot make the decision to bring the three of you up the mountain on my own." Suddenly, a clear voice rang out. The young girl who had been sitting in the carriage poked her head out the window and said, "Senior Brother Tung, please invite our three benefactors aboard first." Hearing this, Tin Bok had no choice but to reluctantly invite the three of them up. "Please, the three of you." Trak Fong smiled in return, "Many thanks." Atu, also helping Tuan, took the opportunity to say sarcastically, "Take it easy, big brother." The young girl in the carriage was Tan Hong Lin, the beloved daughter of the Feng Mu sect's leader. She observed the three and astutely remarked, "To recognize us as disciples of the Feng Mu sect at a glance. This big sister is not only beautiful, but also very intelligent." Trak Fong maintained a calm smile and replied, "To be honest, the internal energy that injured my brother is extremely powerful. Only the profound internal skill of your esteemed sex leader Tan, using softness to overcome hardness, can resolve it." While Trak Fong was speaking eloquently, Atu, sitting beside her, seemed to grow worried, with beads of sweat on his forehead. He counted silently. "This is not good. It's already the 5th day." Trak Fong continued her immersive acting. "That is why the three of us siblings had to cross mountains and streams, traveling 1,000 miles to come here for treatment." Meanwhile, Atu's mind was in turmoil, thinking worriedly, "I have to get away from them quickly. I absolutely cannot let my secret be exposed at this time." Tin Bok, sitting in the front, called back, "I have just sent a letter explaining the situation to my master. The three of you can first settle down in the city and wait for news." The slight change in plans made Trak Fong a bit flustered as she replied, "In that case, many thanks." By now, the carriage had entered the city. The streets were bustling and noisy with the calls of vendors all around. "Candied hawthorns here. Freshly baked sugar cakes here. Sir, looking for lodging or just a short rest? Young lady, come look at some lipstick." Lam Mok, next to Hong Lin, looked around and said, "This inn's business is really good. All the food is sold out." The young Hong Lin then turned to invite Trak Fong, "Big sister, come rest in my room first. My senior brother will be back with food soon." She also replied cheerfully, "All right, then let me go tell my little brother. A growing child can't be dieting or skipping meals." Just as she finished speaking, she suddenly saw a familiar figure hastily leaving and called out loudly after him. Atu on, perceptive, noticed something was amiss and said, "Something's not right. His expression is off. After him." With that, he sped off in the direction Atu had just disappeared. Trak Fong beside him also scrambled to follow, panting as she ran, not forgetting to ask, "Since when did the two of you get along so well that you're this concerned about him?" At this moment, Atu had already staggered into an empty room and shut the door tightly, his exhausted body collapsing onto the floor. Trak Fong stood outside, banging on the door and calling loudly, "Atu, are you in there? You look so pale. Are you feeling unwell somewhere?" Tuan, beside her, impatiently threatened, "Open the door, or I'll kick it down." Inside the room, Atu's body began to convulse violently, and miraculous transformations started to occur. He clutched his head in pain, still worrying in his delirium. No, it absolutely cannot be revealed at this time. If she finds out this secret, she will definitely run away in fear, thinking I'm a monster. I can't lose her again. Hearing a loud noise, Tuan kicked the door open without hesitation. Seeing this, Trak Fong also rushed in anxiously, calling out loudly, "Atu." However, inside the empty room, the tall figure of Atu was seemingly gone. In his place was the child Nan, huddled on the floor. He looked up at the two with innocent eyes and greeted them tremblingly, "Big sister." Tuan immediately frowned and wondered, where did this brat come from? "Where's A2? Trak Fong, equally surprised, asked, "Anan, why are you here?" Anan pointed to the slightly open window, pretending to be worried as he said, "My big brother jumped out the window and ran away." Hearing this, Trak Fong became a little annoyed and stomped her foot, saying, truly brothers, aren't they? Both of them like to sneak off without saying a word. Meanwhile, Anan secretly glanced at her expression and thought she believed it. At this moment, Lam Mok heard the commotion and entered with Hong Lin, asking, "Miss Min, young master, what happened?" Hong Lin curiously looked at the unfamiliar child before her. The young girl looked at him with sparkling eyes full of delight, thinking there's such a handsome and adorable little big brother in this world. Immediately, Hong Lin stepped forward with a bright smile and introduced herself. "Little big brother, I'm Tan Hong Lin. What's your name?" Anan replied coldly and curtly with one word, Anan. Trak Fong, standing beside them, observed the scene, secretly calculating with delight. It's true that heaven never seals all exits. My troublesome little brother has arrived at just the right time to get into the Fong Mu sect smoothly. I'll have to let our little Anan suffer a bit and sacrifice his good looks. With that thought, she waved Anan over with a sweet tone. "Little brother, come here to big sister." Anan looked at Trak Fong's sinister smile, seemed to realize something was amiss, and shivered as he backed away, stammering, "Can I refuse?" After a while of Trak Fong trying her best to persuade him with whispers. Tuan, witnessing this from the side, seemed at a loss for words and shook his head in exasperation, saying, "Making a child use his looks to entice another child. Are you even human?" Trak Fong calmly and nonchalantly retorted, "Big brother Tuan's mind is so dirty. I just want the two of them to become friends. What are you thinking?" Lam Mok, nearby, saw the clumsy act and also thought this big sister's seductive act is a bit over the top. Unable to stand this pretense any longer, Tuan annoyedly gave her leg a light kick. Such a show-off. "Jak Fong Eo." The door opened, and Hong Lin appeared, shyly holding Anan's hand as she said, "Big brother, big sister, let's go. I will now take Anan and the two of you up the mountain to meet my father." Trak Fong clapped her hands happily and replied, "That's great." Anan followed behind with a resigned and annoyed expression, thinking, "To think I'm being toyed with by a 6-year-old kid." Trak Fong saw Anan's grimy face and the strange marks on it and thought with concern, "Is he all right? Why does he look like he's been through a life-altering ordeal?" Trak Fong walked over, patting Anan's head in praise. "Our Anan is so amazing." At this moment, an guest stepped out from the next room, saw the clothes on Anan, and cursed loudly. "That thief deserves to be hacked into 1,000 pieces. Not even sparing a child's clothes. Truly a degenerate. This is too unsafe." Without realizing that the stolen clothes were right on Anan. That evening at the Feng Mu sect, atop the majestic Songming Peak, an elderly man sitting in the host's seat pushed forward a heavy chest of gold and said, "This is a token of gratitude for the three of you for saving my daughter." Tuan clasped his hands respectfully and replied, "Sect leader Tan, the three of us intervened to save someone, not at all for the sake of a reward." Meanwhile, Trak Fong, standing behind, couldn't help but gasp softly at the sight of the glittering gold. So much money. "Sister, can you be a little more reserved?" The man sitting above was Tan Quiet Min, Tan Hong Lin's father, the leader of the Feng Mu sect. He narrowed his eyes, observing Tuan, and said in a deep voice, "The young hero has a handsome appearance and a strong physique, without any sign of internal injury. Why then travel 1,000 miles to come here for treatment? If the three of you are not seeking a reward, then you must have another purpose." Knowing she couldn't fool this old fox, Trak Fong quickly stepped forward and replied, "Since the sect leader has already said so, there's no point in beating around the bush any longer. I won't hide it. We are from the Imperial Court." With that, she took out a medallion and held it up. On it was clearly inscribed, "Min Trak Fong, Jianghu Records Official." Trak Fong put the medallion away and continued, 10 years ago, the renowned hero of the Jianghu, So Beat Hack, was a close friend of yours, wasn't he? After he stole the secret manual, the Tianxing Yuan Dian from the Wanyun sect, he came to see you. The people who tried to assassinate your esteemed daughter at the foot of the mountain today were surely also after the Tianxing Yuan Dian, right? Two on, beside her, added to increase their persuasiveness. An innocent man gets into trouble because of the treasure he carries. Right now, the best way is to hand the Tianxing Yuan Dian over to us. I believe very few would dare to cause trouble for the Imperial Court. After listening, Tan Quiet Min, sitting above, slammed the table and said with a powerful aura, "The Feng sect comes from an orthodox lineage and scorns the vile secret manuals of demonic sections. This old man is also not acquainted with so beat hack. Don't be so fearless as to pester us any further. Otherwise, this old man will not be courteous." Both Trak Fong and Tuan were overwhelmed by his imposing presence and thought. Judging by his eyes, he's an expert one shouldn't provoke. His internal energy is too powerful. Knowing that force wouldn't work, she cautiously lowered her voice to make a request. "Sect leader Tan, if we could find our way here, so can others. Just now, while coming up the mountain, I observed the terrain. It's easy to defend, but hard to attack. If you seal off the mountain early, you might be able to escape this calamity." In her heart, she silently pleaded, "I've already given my all like this. Please at least give me a few clues." Quiet Min clasped his hands and said coldly, "Thank you for the reminder. Early tomorrow morning, I will have someone escort you down the mountain. For tonight, the three of you may rest here." Trak Fong saw his clear intention to send them away and felt a bit disheartened, thinking to herself, as expected of a sect leader, so difficult to talk to. Seeing the old man turn and leave, Trak Fong leaned in and whispered to Tuan, "If this old man is going to be so unaccommodating, we'll just have to search on our own." Tuan also nodded slightly and replied softly, "Agreed." At this moment, she felt a little regretful thinking of Anan. It was all for nothing, letting that kid Tan Hong Lin kiss him. On a quiet, late night, in a cozy room, a beautiful girl was wearing an exquisite outfit. Beside her was Tin Bok. He gently placed a jade bracelet on the girl's wrist and asked, "After returning today, I was busy helping Master handle sect affairs. Only now do I have time to give you a gift. Do you like it?" The woman smiled happily, lightly kissed Tin Bok's forehead, and said affectionately, "Of course, I like it. I like anything you give me." It turns out the woman was Tan Hong Tu, Chung Tin Bok's fiancée, and also Tan Hong Lin's older sister. Trak Fong, standing outside and peeking at the romantic scene, smacked her lips and muttered, "When will such sweet love ever fall upon me?" Tuan, beside her, urged impatiently, "You're not doing the important task and are just standing here watching people in love." Trak Fong shrugged and replied nonchalantly, "I've already done it. There are no clues at all. What about your side?" Tuan sighed and replied, "I've searched all the places I could. It seems we came here for nothing this time." The two continued to whisper back and forth. If the mission were that simple, there would be no challenge. "Let's go back to sleep. You're quite optimistic, aren't you? Do you know how a frog croaks? I suspect you're alluding to me. Be more confident. Drop the suspect." The next morning, both Tin Bok and Lam Mok were at the south gate of the Feng sect to see the three of them off. Tin Bok said politely, "May the three of you have a safe journey." She waved back and replied, "We're leaving. No need to see us off further." Suddenly, Anan, walking beside her, noticed a strange symbol carved on a nearby tree trunk. In his heart, he anxiously surmised, "That's the symbol of the demonic cult. I didn't expect their efficiency to be this high. We must leave this place quickly." With that thought, he quickly tugged on Trak Fong's sleeve and urged, "Big sister, let's hurry down the mountain. Anan is hungry." She quickly rubbed Anan's belly and replied, "We just had breakfast not long ago." "Why are you exactly like your brother Ha? Both of you are bottomless pits." Lam Mok watched their figures recede into the distance, then turned and asked, "Senior brother, the other entrances have been sealed. Should this place be sealed as well?" Tin Bok waved his hand and quickly replied with a disdainful look, "Unnecessary. Just the nonsense of a young girl." I don't know why Master believed her. Night fell, enveloping the Feng sect. A mysterious, unfamiliar figure stood on the mountaintop, wearing a mask that covered half of his face, revealing only a pair of cold, sharp eyes. He coldly raised his sword and gave a decisive command. Immediately, a group of mysterious people dressed in black, with their faces completely covered by scars, rushed forward from the darkness like phantoms. At this time, in a bustling eatery, the atmosphere among Trak Fong's group of three was extremely cheerful and harmonious. Trak Fong was nimbly and frantically picking up food for Tuan. "Brother Tuan, here, you should eat more." Glancing to the side, she saw Anan eating and smacking his lips with excessive gusto. She frowned in annoyance and said, "Anan, can you please not make noise when you eat?" Faced with his big sister's complaint, Anan replied nonchalantly, "I'm gnawing on ribs. How can I eat without making a sound?" Hearing his stubborn reasoning, Trak Fong retorted angrily, "Then don't eat at all." The young boy, Anan, immediately put on an innocent face and continued, "But I'm still growing. If I don't eat ribs, I won't grow tall." Tuan, sitting beside them, heard this and chimed in with a reminder. Little devil, you have to exercise after eating, or be careful you'll roll into a ball. Anan deliberately pretended not to hear. As he was enthusiastically gnawing on a rib, his hand slipped and he flung it, hitting Tuan right on the head. Tuan reached up to feel his head and said in annoyance, "You little brat, did you do that on purpose?" Seeing the situation was not good, Anan immediately put on a pitiful face. "Big brother, Anan didn't do it on purpose. I'm sorry." Faced with this attitude that changed faster than flipping a book, Tuan was speechless and replied, "You little rascal, you're good for nothing, but no one can beat you at acting cute. You're just as annoying as his brother." Track Fong, who had been enjoying the show, witnessed this and commented, "I think I get it now. Your fate must be incompatible with those two brothers." Just then, the sound of whispers from the next table drifted over, catching their attention. One person said, "Let me tell you, brother, I just came back from the East River Bank. Guess what I saw?" The person opposite him heard this and exclaimed in alarm, "Is that for real?" An entire river dyed red with blood. The source of the East River is Sangming Mountain. The Feng Mu sect is on that mountain. Could it be that something has happened? Every word that entered their ears made Track Fong's group of three shudder. Realizing something was wrong, Tuan immediately became tense. "Waiter, the bill." Before long, the sky was already turning to dusk. When Track Fong rushed to the scene, she could hardly recognize the once beautiful scenery. All around, there were only corpses lying scattered in streaks of blood like messy scribbles everywhere. Witnessing the brutal tragedy before her, Track Fong involuntarily shivered as she recalled a painful memory from the past. That was a story from 10 years ago. A young Track Fong, holding a stick of Tonglu, stood before the gate of Lianhua village. Both outside and inside, the scene was terrifyingly devastated, with bloodstains even splattered on the village gate. In a panic, the young Track Fong stepped inside and called out incessantly, "Father, mother, father, mother, father." But in response to that heart-wrenching call, what lay before the young Track Fong was already a lifeless corpse. Back in the present, Anan and Tuan, having quickly checked the surroundings, saw Track Fong sitting in a daze and asked with concern, "Are you all right, little sister?" Anan also worriedly came over, hugged her arm, and called out, "Big sister." Hearing their calls, Track Fong returned to the present. She tried to compose herself and asked, "What could be wrong with me?" "On the contrary, you two, did you find any lucky survivors?" Tuan shook his head in disappointment and replied, "There are no survivors, but we searched everywhere and couldn't find the bodies of Chung Tin Bok and Lam Mok." Anan, standing beside them, also spoke up to reassure them. "We also didn't see Tan Hong Lin's body. Perhaps they are still alive." Piecing everything together, Tuan was now furious to the extreme. With a grim face, he said, "A massacre of this scale? I'm afraid only people from the Wanyun cult could commit such an insane act." Track Fong gently stroked Anan's head and said, "Not bad. Killing all the adults and the elderly, kidnapping children, is indeed the familiar signature of the Wanyun cult." As soon as the words left her mouth, she suddenly recalled the painful past from that year, with the image of her older sister, Xiaofeng, follow Agia. "You're Agia also." Xiaofeng. After checking every nook and cranny, Track Fong dusted off her hands and decisively turned to leave. "Let's go. Let's search carefully one more time." Tuan followed behind, but couldn't hide his confusion. "Why are we only looking at this courtyard? Is there something strange about it?" Track Fong stopped and slowly explained, "I have observed carefully. This entire Feng Mu sect was built strictly according to the 8 mansions feng shui." Suddenly, her eyes lit up and she exclaimed, "Qian, Kan, Jin, Zhen, Sun, Li, Kuan, Dui represent the 8 directions. Qian is the open gate, Kan is the rest gate, Jin is the life gate, Zhen is the harm gate, Sun is the delusion gate, Li is the scenery gate, Kuan is the death gate, Dui is the fear gate. Right now, where we're standing is the Kuan position, which is the death gate. The death gate is one of the 9 great and auspicious stars." Tuan, listening to the long-winded theory, was bewildered and said decisively, "I don't understand at all." Track Fong sighed, and then said again in a serious tone, "In short, this place is extremely unlucky. The ancestors of the Feng Mu sect always paid great attention to feng shui. Unless absolutely necessary, they would never have built a house at the death gate. Therefore, I suspect this courtyard was built to conceal some kind of mechanism or secret room. Tuan nodded and quickly agreed. That seems to make sense. Then let's try searching first. After rummaging through the entire room and finding nothing, Trak Fong frowned, looking thoughtful, and said, "This is absurd. It's not in the house. Could it be outside?" Just then, a Nan was intently examining something like a large rock. After a moment, he waved and called out loudly, "Big sister, come look quickly." This rockery is a bit strange. Seeing this, Tuan handed his sword to a Nan to hold and said decisively, "Take this. Step aside a bit." Anan obediently took the sword and replied, "Okay." Then Tuan rolled up his sleeves, stepped forward, and used all his strength to push the large rock. Trak Fong and Anan stood leisurely on the side, constantly cheering, "Go for it. Put your back into it." Tuan, pushing until he was out of breath, said helplessly, "You too." After a while of struggling, Tuan finally succeeded in pushing the rock aside. Seeing the passage appear, Trak Fong praised, "What a wonderful lucky star our Anan is." Tuan, exhausted, saw this scene and thought, "I feel like I'm the third wheel." Suddenly, he turned to Anan and asked probingly, "Little devil, how did you figure out there was a problem here?" Anan shrugged and quickly replied, "It's probably genetic." Immediately, Anan took the opportunity to praise his adult self. "After all, my big brother is blessed with both talent and looks, exceptionally brilliant, and as handsome and elegant as a jade tree in the wind. However, big brother, you don't need to feel inferior. You're so strong. It's okay if you're a little slow-witted. Nobody's perfect." Hearing this, Tuan's face darkened, and he thought irritably, "I think you're just asking for a beating. The little brat dares to mock me." The cellar door opened, and light from outside shone in. Lam Mok, who was in a hiding place below, shouted imposingly, "Who's there?" Hong Lin, frightened, huddled behind Lam Mok's back. Trak Fong slowly descended and greeted them cheerfully. "This is great. You're really here." Lam Mok recognized the familiar faces and immediately shouted, "It's you?" Hong Lin, upon seeing Anan behind her, quickly burst into tears and rushed over Anan. Lam Mok, standing behind, couldn't stop her in time. Hong Lin, wait. The little girl buried her head in Anan's chest and cried aggrievedly. Father and older sister, and so many people, they're all dead. Tin Bok, who was unconscious, heard the commotion and groggily woke up. He suddenly shouted loudly, "Who on earth are you? Why are you here?" Seeing this, Lam Mok stepped forward worriedly. "First senior brother, you're heavily injured. Don't try to sit up." Trak Fong, seeing the tense situation, quickly spoke up to explain, "Don't misunderstand. We're not on the same side as the people who harmed you." Tin Bok maintained a grim, scrutinizing expression. "The people of the demonic cult are full of cunning tricks. Who knows if you have other schemes?" Trak Fong curled her lip and replied indifferently, "What could we possibly scheme, brother? Scheme for your hot temper while you're covered in injuries. Or perhaps scheme for the fact that you could be hunted down and killed at any moment." Tin Bok, choked with anger, could only utter a single sound. "You." Just then, Tuan stepped forward, took out his identity token, and reassured them. "We are government officials. We have no quarrel with the Feng Mu sect, and we also despise associating with the demonic cult. Therefore, we certainly wouldn't interfere in such a conscienceless matter. The three of you can rest assured." After hearing this, Lam Mok stammered a little. "Sorry, we." Tuan waved his hand and immediately reassured him. "No need to apologize after experiencing something like this. It's very normal to be on guard." Hearing this, Trak Fong also advised, "The people from the demonic cult might come back. It's better if we descend the mountain quickly." Lam Mok looked at his senior brother and said hesitantly, "First senior brother," but Tin Bok said resolutely, "I want to go outside and see first. At the very least, we must bury their bodies properly." The painful memories from a few hours ago suddenly came flooding back. Tin Bok tightly gripped Hong Tu's hand, hastily trying to escape. Suddenly from behind Tin Bok, a mysterious assassin rushed forward and stabbed him in the back. Hong Tu, seeing it sharply, cried out, "Tin Bok." Then she, without a moment's hesitation, stood in the way and took the full force of the attack. Tin Bok turned around and cried out in alarm. Hong Tu. Hong Tuesday, looking at Hong Tu in his arms, her breath fading, Tin Bok frantically called her name. "Hong Tu, Hong Tuesday Hong too, using her last bit of strength, still tried to say her final words. I'm sorry, I couldn't protect our child. It's okay, Tin Bok, in pain, continuously reassured her. Hong too, you'll be okay. Hong too, realizing she was about to die, gasped. Tin Bok then gave him a bracelet and instructed, you must live on well. Seeing that Hong Tu was no longer breathing, Tin Bok looked up to the sky and let out a cry full of anguish. Hong Tuesday Lam Mok, seeing more and more enemies appear, hastily pulled Tin Bok and urged, let's go, they're catching up to us. Tin Bok seemed unable to accept the truth. He still wanted to go to her. No, Hong Tu, no. Back in the present, Lam Mok supported Tin Bok as they walked, not forgetting to remind him, senior brother, be careful. In his heart, Tin Bok was still tormented by an unceasing pain. Hong Tu, I'm sorry. At the back mountain of the Feng Mu sect, a mournful atmosphere enveloped them as Tin Bok, along with Lam Mok, Hong Lin, and Trak Fong's group, silently buried the deceased. Trak Fong looked up at the darkening sky and said softly, it's getting late. Let's go down the mountain. I'm dead tired today. Tuan, standing beside her, pondered for a moment, then made a suggestion. Then isn't safe after we go down the mountain. Let's go to the government office to borrow a place for them to treat their injuries first. Tin Bok clenched his fists and silently swore a venomous oath in his heart. On tu, reste assured. One day, I will definitely make them. Make all of them pay the price. 2 days quickly passed at the house temporarily borrowed from the government office. In Trak Fong's room, Anan, with a grim expression, struggled to walk outside, thinking to himself, this is too uncomfortable. I have to find a new place to hide. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appeared, who seemed to have been waiting on the rooftop for a long time. She swooped down as fast as a hawk, grabbed Anan, and left, yet he didn't seem surprised at all. Trak Fong, who was sound asleep, suddenly woke up. She called out, bewildered. Anan, seeing the room door wide open, she stepped outside for a look. She muttered to herself, could he have gone to the latrine? That kid didn't fall into the latrine pit, did he? Meanwhile, Anan had shed his childish appearance to become a two again. He slowly put on his clothes and said, in the current situation, it will be even more dangerous for me to return. The mysterious woman from before spoke with some hesitation and anxiety. But Atu waved his hand and replied, it's fine, I'll be careful. Trak Fong's voice could still be heard echoing, calling his name. Anan, hearing the sound, the mysterious girl quickly instructed, someone's coming, so be careful. I'm leaving first. Okay. As soon as he finished speaking, the mysterious girl's figure leaped onto the roof and vanished into the night. Trak Fong, still not giving up, continued to call Anan. Suddenly, a deep, warm voice called out from behind her. Older sister. Trak Fong, startled, turned around to see the familiar, roguish figure of a Tuesday. Seeing him, she narrowed her eyes and immediately asked, Atu, you're back? Have you seen little Anan? Atu, his expression unchanged, quickly made up a story. Anan has gone home. Did you miss me, older sister? At this point, suspicion began to arise in Trak Fong's heart, and she asked, why do you two brothers never dare to appear in front of me at the same time? Are you playing hide and seek with me? Older sister, why don't you care if I've been living well these past few days? Instead, your eyes are only for Anan. I'm not as cute or as good with sweet words as my younger brother, so in the end, I'm still disliked by older sister. As he spoke, he put on a pitiful appearance, making Trak Fong feel somewhat helpless. Trak Fong, not easily fooled, asked decisively and seriously, don't you change the subject. Confess honestly. Do you two brothers have some secret you can't let others know? Atu continued his deep act. Of course not. It's just that Anan is considerate. He saw you sleeping so soundly, so he couldn't bear to disturb you. It's getting late. Let's go back and rest. Sleeping late is bad for your skin, you know. Saying that, he naturally led Trak Fong back to the bedroom. Then, Atu shamelessly pleaded, older sister, can I sleep with you? I want to take off my clothes. We can just sleep together like this. I didn't expect the other guest rooms here to be completely uncleaned. How could you have the heart to let me sleep in a room full of dust and covered in cobwebs like that? As he spoke, he pretended to cry very pitifully. Trak Fong smirked slyly and replied, fine, just in time for when we wake up tomorrow. Ha Tuan and I can give you a taste of what's coming at the same time. Finishing her words, she said in a cold voice, get out. Atu then pretended to cry as he left, saying in an aggrieved tone, then I'll go sleep in the next room with big brother Ha. Good night, older sister. Trak Fong watched Atu's retreating back. She thought to herself, This guy, he clearly just arrived, yet he's so familiar with everything here. He knows the other guest rooms haven't been cleaned, and he even knows that Brother Tuan's room is next door. There's definitely something wrong with him. In a quiet corner of the backyard, a chicken was leisurely pecking at grain when it was suddenly snatched up by a hand. Atu held the chicken upside down in his hand and said with a laugh, "Tonight, you'll be on the menu." Tuan suddenly appeared from behind and ordered, "Hey, put that chicken down." Atu pouted in annoyance and retorted, "No, older sister works so hard investigating for news all by herself. I have to stew a chicken for her to eat." Tuan, hearing the excuse that reeked of fabrication, shot him a glare. "I think you're the one who wants to eat it." The poor chicken in the middle was being choked, terrified to the extreme. After speaking, Tuan and Atu started chasing each other, causing a commotion in the yard. "Give it to me." "No way. You'd hit me over a chicken. I think you're deliberately looking for trouble." "So what? If you're so good, then beat me." Just then, Trakfong came out, stretching and sighing. So tired, suddenly, during the chaos, the chicken escaped from Atu's hand and flew away. Unluckily, it landed right on her head. Furious at this unexpected misfortune, Trakfong shouted, "Whenever I'm not here, you two start fighting. Fighting is one thing, but you even injure me by accident. Now stop at once." Seeing this, Atu quickly put on an aggrieved look and said, "Older sister, big brother picked a fight with me just for a chicken. Look how he hit me. It's all swollen." As he spoke, Atu sidled up to her, putting on a pitiful act. Trakfong laughed and consoled him perfunctorily. "How can you not even take a few hits? Just you wait. I'll help you scold him." Then, when Atu wasn't paying attention, she turned and whispered to Tuan, "Even if you want to probe him, don't find such a forced excuse. Did you find anything?" Tuan also quickly lowered his voice and replied, "This guy is extremely cunning. He'd rather be beaten than use even a bit of internal energy, relying only on those cat-scratching martial arts moves. I really can't figure out his identity. I'll find a chance to probe him next time." "So, you were out for half a day today. Did you find any clues about the Tianxing Yuan Dian?" Trakfong shrugged in disappointment and replied, "For now, there's no one in the city suspected of being from the demonic cult, and no clues about the secret manual either. We'll have to change our battleground." Atu, beside her, couldn't seem to sit still and kept running around, bothering Trakfong. "Older sister, sit over here. I'll pour you some water. You must be tired. Older sister, let me massage your shoulders. Older sister, drink some water, and I'll massage your legs too." Tuan watched the scene of excessive fawning before him and thought with some annoyance, why is this guy just like a dog? Suddenly, while massaging her shoulders, Atu asked, "If there are no clues, where do you plan to go next, older sister?" Trakfong ziplit sopti. "I heard that the wife of the Luli sect's leader is Tan Hong Lin's paternal aunt. The three of them are preparing to go seek refuge with the Luli sect. We will go with them." Tuan, sitting next to her, frowned and wondered. "That's her paternal aunt, not yours. Why are you tagging along?" Trakfong leaned back lazily and replied, "Please, our records office has a fixed number of missions each month. Now that there are no clues about the Tianxing Yuan Dian, can I go and complete my missions first?" Atu from behind also chimed in quickly. "The Wu Yuan book of the Luli sect is very famous in the Jianghu. Could it be that older sister has also been eyeing it for a long time?" Hearing this, Trakfong turned to pat his head in praise. "Look how clever you are. What did you eat to grow up like this?" When night fell, after they had eaten and drunk their fill, Atu started acting spoiled again and cheerfully suggested, "Older sister, I don't want to share a room with my older brother. He hit me really hard today. I'm afraid that tonight, after he falls asleep, I might do something terrible." Saying this, Atu glanced at Tuan with a sinister look. Then he quickly turned to plead with Trakfong with sparkling eyes. "So, can I share a room with you, older sister?" Hearing this, Tuan couldn't hold back and drew his sword, saying angrily, "Hey, you brat, are you looking to die?" Atu, not the least bit scared, smirked and teased back, "I'm just worried that when older sister entered the city, she might have been targeted by people with ill intentions, so I wanted to share a room to protect her. Why are you so tense, older brother? Could it be that you like her?" As he finished speaking, Atu stared intently at Tuan with a deeply probing gaze. Hearing this, Tuan froze for a moment at a loss for words, while Trakfong turned to look at him with great anticipation. Hearing the question, Tuan pointed at Trak Fong and said decisively, "What are you joking about? How could I possibly like her?" Hearing that blunt reply, she felt her pride was a little hurt. Trak Fong took a deep breath and told herself, "Don't get angry at a straight guy. Don't get angry at a straight guy." Suddenly, Tuan whipped around to Atu, his voice full of warning. "But I'm warning you, Brad. As long as I'm here, don't you dare have any ideas about her." Atu heard this but showed no fear at all, merely smirking. Seeing this, Trak Fong stepped in front of Atu to shield him and spoke in his defense. "Wait a minute, he's my person. Can you not be so fierce with him, Lord Ha?" Then she turned to leave, not forgetting to call out, "Let's go, Atu. Let's go back and rest." Atu replied cheerfully, "Yes, older sister." Then turned his head back to look at Tuan with a provocative expression. Meanwhile, Tuan was still standing rooted to the spot, not understanding what was happening. "Trak Fong, what's wrong with you? Are you trying to let a wolf into the house?" That night, as Tuan was tossing and turning in bed, his mind suddenly conjured up an ambiguous scene between Atu and Trak Fong. A sweet voice rang out, "Older sister, a spring night moment is worth 1,000 gold pieces. Let's hurry and rest. You be gentle, okay?" Thinking of this, he shuddered uncontrollably, jolted awake, and said, "This won't do. If I don't stop them, not only will the cabbage be eaten by the pig, but even the pot will be gone." No sooner said than done. He rushed over to Trak Fong's room, aggressively threw the door open, and shouted loudly, "You too." But what met his eyes was the sight of her halfway through changing her clothes. Their eyes met, and both of them immediately froze as if petrified. Trak Fong's face flushed red, and she immediately screamed, "Ha Tuan, why did you come in without knocking? Get out." Meanwhile, Atu, who was lounging leisurely outside, had no idea what was happening. Seeing Tuan appear, Atu was a bit puzzled and thought, "What on earth is this guy doing here?" 3 days passed in a flash. At the Luli sect, a handmaiden bowed respectfully to welcome Trak Fong's group as they entered. The disciples were just engrossed in their sword practice, making our esteemed guests wait. "This way, please." Stepping into the unfamiliar place, Tuan couldn't help but think, "I have a feeling something is about to happen." Trak Fong observed the architecture before her, nodded, and praised it aloud. This house is a Hui-shaped courtyard for gathering fortune, symbolizing the convergence of wealth and nobility, bringing blessings and prosperity everywhere. It's really not bad at all. Just then, an elegant woman stepped out, smiling in welcome. I didn't expect this young friend, despite her young age, to be so knowledgeable about feng shui. It turned out this was the sect leader's wife of the Luli sect, and also Tan Hong Lin's biological aunt. Trak Fong humbly bowed her head and replied, "Madam, you praise me too much. I only know a little. I made a fool of myself before you." The aunt then kindly invited them. "You've all had a long and arduous journey here. Please follow me to rest first." Then she turned to gently comfort Hong Lin. "Hong Lin, don't be sad. From now on, this is your home, and we'll take good care of you." The moved girl rushed forward to hug her, crying out, "Aunt." The handmaiden beside them also respectfully invited, "This way, esteemed guests." Suddenly, a man with disheveled hair appeared out of nowhere, holding a sword that radiated a murderous aura, constantly screaming, "Kill, kill." Atu reacted swiftly, saw him, and pulled Trak Fong into his arms to protect her. "Be careful." Then he secretly released a wave of invisible power to block the sword strike. The aunt standing beside them cried out in alarm, "Husband!" But in that instant, Tuan immediately circled behind the man, decisively struck the back of his neck, and said, "My apologies." The man was struck and immediately fell unconscious. As Tuan caught the man, he frowned and asked, "What on earth is going on here?" The aunt, with a pained expression, stammered in reply, "My husband, he's suffering from cultivation deviation again." Atu, standing to the side, watched the scene before him, his eyes narrowing with suspicion and doubt. Atu was using all his internal energy, his hand clenched so tightly that it made even Tuan pause. This Atu's internal energy is actually powerful enough to deal with someone at the Grandmaster level. Trak Fong was no less astonished. She stood stunned, her eyes wide as she watched, thinking to herself, "Someone with such ability would absolutely not be following me just to repay a debt." Trak Fong bit her nails, pondering, love at first sight? Or is there another motive? As for Atu, although he appeared very strong on the outside, he was actually trembling. This old man is really strong. I can't believe he forced me to use 70% of my internal energy. He glanced over at Trak Fong. Trak Fong, who was lost in thought, was startled, and Atu leaned in close to question her with a smile that was slowly turning sinister. Older sister, are you looking at me like that because you're captivated by my handsome face? At this, Trak Fong smirked. Not just that, my eyes have truly been opened, and I've had a huge shock as well. Just then, Tu-on cut in between them, pushing Atu away. If you're going to talk properly. Don't get so close. Elsewhere, golden sunlight shone through the canopy of trees as two servants supported the injured sect leader. The madam ran out and pointed to the side. Help the sect leader into the room to rest. Then go and fetch a physician. The servants quickly complied. Yes, madam. Afterward, she spoke again in a warm voice. My apologies for frightening the three of you. First, please follow the disciple to your resting place. Afterward, I'll be sure to host you all properly. Esteemed guests, this way please. And so, Trak Fong, Atu, and Tu-on were led through the dreamlike, shimmering courtyard. A servant received them. The guest rooms have been cleaned. The three esteemed guests may rest here tonight. Trak Fong replied respectfully, All right, thank you, brother. Afterward, she stood covering her mouth, giggling, not expecting the opportunity to obtain the secret manual to come so quickly. Hearing this, Tu-on was surprised. What do you mean by that? Trak Fong walked ahead of the two of them and said, You both saw it, right? That sect leader's cultivation led to a deviation. Finding a physician is useless. The problem must be found in the cultivation method he practices. Atu, lightly fanning himself with a fan in his hand, said with an air of having seen through it all. Even if you know the cause, solving it won't be easy. Then he smirked again. However, it seems older sister is already confident of victory, isn't she? As if he had hit the nail on the head, Trak Fong didn't hesitate to laugh smugly. Although your older sister here doesn't know martial arts, I've roamed the Jianghu for many years and have memorized all the martial arts manuals of the various sects. Luckily, I'm the type who remembers everything I see. As long as I get a glance at the cultivation method he practices, I'll definitely be able to spot where the problem lies. Then Trak Fong casually declared, This way, the problem at hand will naturally be as easy as flipping my hand. At this, Atu looked at her with immense admiration. Older sister, you're truly a living encyclopedia of martial arts. So impressive. Only Tu-on remained calm. If you were born without martial talent, what's the use of memorizing so many manuals? In a moment of crisis, won't you still be unable to protect yourself? Hearing this, Trak Fong, as if provoked, retorted, Oh, you're so great. I wonder who it was that couldn't even memorize the three-character classic as a child. Tu uncrossed his arms, glared, and retorted mockingly. That's right. And I wonder who it was that, at 10 years old, was beaten to tears by a 5-year-old and came running to me to complain. The two of them went back and forth like that. Who was kicked out of class by the teacher for lifting a chair to train their muscles. After school, you were cornered by some bullies, and it was me who chased them away. At this moment, Atu, listening to their conversation from the side, came to a realization. So older sister and he are childhood sweethearts. This is truly. Atu's face showed a look of jealousy, and he walked over to intervene. Older sister, don't argue with him anymore. Why don't you tell me, what exactly does a Jianghu Records official do? Tu-on turned in surprise and asked, You've never heard of it? Atu replied, I've heard a little. It is said that the current emperor has no martial arts skill whatsoever, but is extremely passionate about martial arts. He deliberately created this title of Jianghu Records Official, who specializes in collecting various martial arts manuals from the Jianghu for him to read in his leisure time. As he spoke, Atu used his fan to cover his mouth, his eyes slightly probing. But it's probably not as simple as it seems on the surface, right? Seeing this, Trak Fong thought to herself, this guy is really sharp. Then she forced a smile and tried to deflect. What do kids know? Let's not always think about conspiracy theories. Think about it. If there were another purpose, would we be able to act so ostentatiously? But Atu appeared very knowledgeable, his face showing clear confidence as he said, Perhaps this is precisely the brilliance of the imperial court. The more ostentatiously you act, the less suspicion you will arouse. At this, Trak Fong and Tu-on froze. The sky seemed to darken. After which, Trak Fong said resignedly, I get it. You want to play the game of laying our cards on the table now, right? In that case, why don't you go first? What is your purpose in following us? You and Anan take turns appearing every 4 days. So what is the reason that you two can't appear at the same time? Hearing this, Atu's face grew grim and filled with killing intent. He suddenly knelt before Trak Fong, looking at her with a sincere tone. "It's true that I have my own selfish reasons for following you, older sister, but I will definitely not harm you." Then he hesitated. "As for Anan, I will bring him to see you." That night, the moon was high but hidden behind drifting clouds at Min Trak Fong's temporary residence in the courtyard. A voice was heard from outside. "I wonder if the young friend has any brilliant ideas?" It turned out that in the room, Trak Fong was sitting and drinking tea with the madam. She proposed, "I do indeed have a solution, but I hope the madam can agree to one condition of mine." The madam seemed a bit hesitant, but from outside, through the lit window frame, a voice was heard. "If the young friend's method is effective, then." The next day, the second day, the sun was golden yellow. Trak Fong gave something to the madam. "Please take a look, madam." They were sitting in the living room, where Tu and Tu were also present. Trak Fong spoke up. "Last night, I told the madam that the reason the sect master suffered from chi deviation was because when practicing the 9th level of the Ghost Flower Sword Art, he encountered an unbreakable obstacle, leading to disordered meridians, and this mind technique can help a cultivator break through the 9th bottleneck." The madam handed the newly received booklet to Elder Nguyen. "Elder Nguyen, I recall that your current cultivation is also stuck at the 9th level. Please try and see what you think of this young friend's mind technique." As soon as Elder Nguyen finished reading the book, he was astonished. The mind technique this young friend has provided, after reading it, it's truly like being enlightened, making one realize many things. "Madam, please let this old man try it first. If there are no problems, then the sect master can try it himself." The madam immediately agreed. "All right, we'll have to trouble you then, Elder Nguyen." After that, Elder Nguyen sat in meditation in the middle of the room. Trak Fong began to chant scriptures while walking back and forth around him. "Close your eyes and brighten your heart in seated meditation. Still your thoughts against evil. Let your spirit reside in your abdomen, and your primal chi return to your dantian. The spring becomes one. The self creates its own destiny." At this point, Elder Nguyen's face was scrunched up and he was breaking out in a sweat. Trak Fong quickly noticed. She became alarmed as Elder Nguyen's condition worsened. "This is not good. Quickly press his 4 major acupoints to protect his heart meridians." Atu quickly rushed over. "Here." Then he pressed the 4 acupoints on the elder's body. Without stopping, Trak Fong's eyes widened as she shouted loudly. "Then press his Danzhong acupoint." Atu did as told, but exclaimed it wasn't working. His breathing is completely chaotic. The madam, standing beside them, asked worriedly, "What should we do about this?" Trak Fong was still searching through the book. "Madam, don't worry, I've found it." Elder Nguyen, listen carefully to the incantation I'm about to chant. Hold your breath and stabilize your heart. Find stability amidst myriad changes. Let your spirit move and your chi refine. Let the fire burn the chi wheel, and the chi flow freely on its own. At this time, the scent of incense in the room also began to spread. 3 days later, in the madam's main hall, she was sitting and having tea with Trak Fong and the other 2. The sect master has fully awakened, and he has broken through the 9th level of the Ghost Flower Sword Art based on the mind technique the young friend provided. He now needs to go into seclusion for 10 days, so he cannot come to thank you personally. This 5 elements book is the reward I promised you, young friend. Please accept it. The madam took out the 5 elements book and gave it to Trak Fong. She smiled with excited satisfaction. "Not at all." Then the madam said, "I heard from Tin Bok that you're looking for the demon sect's heavenly path primordial scripture." Trak Fong note that? That's right. 2 days ago, a disciple from the sect came to report that during this time, many people from the demon sect have been gathering at the Baiware in Amukan City. At this moment, Atu, who was drinking tea, froze upon hearing this. The madam continued, saying, "Perhaps you all could go there and take a look." Tuan and Trak Fong suddenly turned to look at each other. Then the 2 of them hurriedly said in unison, "Thank you for the information, madam." Trak Fong thought to herself, hoping that she could gain something this time. If she was lucky, she might even be able to find news of her older sister. In the city, people were coming and going, arriving in front of the Tan Hung Inn. Just then, a man who looked like a 2 was waiting with a child. When Trak Fong saw them, she froze. She covered her mouth and let out a smirk. "You're not a 2, are you?" Then her expression changed, her gaze intense. Atu and Anan are fundamentally the same person, right? Trak Fong thought back to when she first met Atu's day. "At first, I was just suspicious. After all, in terms of age, Atu and Anan are 2 completely different people. To say they're the same person is truly too far-fetched. Track Fong sat calmly, sipping her tea, and said, "But just now I became certain." Hearing this, Atu was curious. "How are you so certain, big sister?" Atu asked while raising his hand. At that moment, Track Fong pointed at his hand. "Come on, look at these hands. So soft, with such slender fingers. One look, and you can tell they're a woman's hands." Moreover, Atu's gaze tonight is not the same as before. Atu was startled. "How is it not the same?" Track Fong then explained. "Although you hid it very well, the moment you walked through the door, the look you gave me was one of surprise. Then it was probing. I've known Atu for a long time. How could he look at me with such eyes?" Suddenly, Atu froze. Even more surprisingly, he held a knife that he had long hidden on his person to Track Fong's throat. "You shouldn't be this smart." At this moment, Track Fong also seemed flustered and tried to stop him. "Calm down, let's talk things out. For better or worse, we all know each other. Can't we not be so violent?" Just then, the young boy beside them spoke up. "Don't touch her." Suddenly, Atu's voice changed to a female one. "But she..." At this moment, Track Fong's fear turned to excitement, her eyes sparkling. "Oh my God, it's really a big sister." The young boy then gave an order. "You step back. I'll speak with her privately." Atu replied yes. Outside, the sky was still sunny and clear, but the atmosphere in the room was tense. Atu then pulled off the face mask. It turned out not to be Atu, but he was Tik-On, a personal guard of Nan Tuesday. At this moment, Tik-On froze, his eyes wide as he wondered to himself, "Why do those eyes? No, could she be?" He shouted loudly, "Who are you?" Just then, Tuon, looking furious, had one hand ready to draw his sword. Seeing this, Tik-On yelled at him, "What's it to you?" But Tuon, without a word, was about to draw his sword and shouted loudly, "Stop!" But in that moment, Tik-On had already fled. One would have thought Track Fong would be very tense after that. But unexpectedly, she sat in her chair and laughed heartily. Truly unexpected that there's a martial art in this world that can change a person from adult to child at will. Nan Tu, with a serious expression and an intense gaze, spoke up. "It's not a martial art, it's a poison." Then he recounted with a sad face. "When I was little, I was afflicted by a strange poison. At first, I would only turn small every 30 days. But as I grew older, the time between transformations became shorter. I was just worried about scaring you, big sister, so I kept a secret. I truly have no ill intentions." Then Anan, with a pitiful look in his eyes, tugged at her sleeve and asked Track Fong, "Big sister, do you believe me?" Immediately, Track Fong was swayed, gently patting Anan's head. "I believe you." Then she knelt down caringly and placed both hands on Anan's shoulders. "But you have to tell me, do you know someone who looks a lot like me?" Suddenly, Anan hesitated, thinking of Track Fong's image. Seeing him stammer, Track Fong immediately questioned him, "Do you or not?" Anan looked hesitant, then he said regretfully, "I don't know." Hearing that, Track Fong had no choice but to lower her hands, walk to a chair, and sigh. "Is that so?" Anan immediately changed the subject. "Let's not talk about that anymore. Aren't you curious about my real identity, big sister?" Track Fong sat leisurely, holding her teacup. "Of course I'm curious, but if I were to ask you, would you answer truthfully? But who doesn't have secrets? I believe that one day you will open your heart and tell me everything." Those words made Anan freeze. He lowered his head and thought, "Open my heart. I'm afraid that when that day comes, you will no longer see me as your little brother and will avoid me." While they were in quiet contemplation, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew from somewhere. "Tuan zuset in shouting loudly, Minjak Fong, Iveditskova." Then he stopped short when he saw Nan. "You're here, kid." Anan was flustered. "Hello, big brother." Thinking he was the center of attention, Anan was immediately pushed aside by Tuan, who pressed on his head. "Kid, move aside." "Track Fong, let me tell you, there's a veiled woman outside, but she has eyes that look just like yours." Hearing this, Track Fong shot up in alarm. "What?" After Tuan ran in with the news, Track Fong seemed to have lost her soul, and the hot teacup in her hand fell as well. Track Fong frantically ran over, grabbed Tuan's hand tightly, and asked, "Where is she? Where did you see her?" "Tuan an suhakwadili." "She ran away." At this moment, Track Fong seemed to turn to stone. Her gaze changed, and she looked extremely tense. She rushed over to Anan and gripped his shoulders tightly. "The A2 from just now." "No, that little big sister. What is she to you?" "Her eyes. Aturiplaith. She is my guard. She's an orphan, and her eyes really do look a lot like yours." At this moment, Track Fong was stunned. "She could be my older sister." "Good, Anan. Can you call her out to meet me for a moment?" But Anan said that. "Her movements are very elusive. This time, I just happened to meet her when she was bringing me medicine, so..." Hearing this, Trak Fong's eyes welled up with tears. Seeing her distress, Anand's heart softened and he comforted her. Big sister, please wait. The next time she comes, I will bring her to meet you, okay? Hearing that, Trak Fong hugged Anand tightly and said, It's okay. I'm willing to wait. Thank you, Anand. You really are my good luck charm. The next afternoon at the Byway Inn, rows of tall, imposing buildings sparkled in the golden sun. Trak Fong appeared from somewhere, stood before Anand and Tuan, and announced, Everyone, listen up. Although the people from the demon sect have left, I've managed to find an important clue. Finding it grating, Tuan spoke up. Stop being so mysterious. Just say it. Trak Fong had a confident expression. They gathered here to find a person named Bak Hu Sin. Hearing this, Tuan crossed his arms in surprise. Bak Hu Sin, who's that? Trak Fong explained with a surprised look. He's the famous divine doctor of detoxification in the martial world. You haven't heard of him? It turned out Tuan had never heard of him. Never. So what then? What does he have to do with the heavenly path, primordial scripture we're looking for? Trak Fong awkwardly scratched her head in embarrassment. I don't know. Hearing the incomplete story, Tuan gritted his teeth in annoyance. Then why did you even bring it up? Then Trak Fong tried to smooth things over. But think about it, everyone in the martial world is looking for the heavenly path, primordial scripture right now. There's no way the demon sect will be looking for someone completely unrelated to it, right? Hearing Trak Fong say that made Tuan ponder a bit. The Feng Mu sect met with the disaster of annihilation because of its involvement with So Beat Hack. Could it be that this person named Bak Hu Sin is also connected to him? Meanwhile, Anand sat thoughtfully with his chin in his hand. 10 years ago, Bak Hu Sin was an honored guest of the Wanyan sect. It was he who helped So Beat Hack escape from the Wanyan sect. Hearing this, the other two seemed to have an epiphany. How did you? But just then, there was loud shouting. They're over there, get them. Trak Fong was startled. Holy crap, what's going on? Tuan immediately signaled for them to go. But the bosses in black had rushed over, and he threw his throwing knives. Don't even think about running. Unexpectedly, Tuan had already grabbed both of them under his arms and carried them away. Trak Fong didn't forget to mock them back by sticking out her tongue and winking. But they still didn't stop chasing. Don't let them get away after them. They were like cats and mice in the city. Tuan was shouting, Please make way. The people in the city shouted back in annoyance. What are you doing? In a hurry to get reincarnated? Don't push. A moment later, the group in black arrived, scrambling because they had lost their direction. We're the people. You guys go over there and search. Quickly. Don't let the demon sect people get the upper hand. It turned out Tuan had hidden the other two in some cargo baskets. Gradually, Trak Fong opened the lid and peeked out. After scouting the situation, she turned back to see Tuan still fast asleep in the basket. Trak Fong was surprised. They're long gone. Is that you, big brother? Anand discovered that Tuan had been struck by a knife on his shoulder and said, Don't move. Then he forcefully pulled out the blood-soaked knife. Anand carefully examined it. There's poison on the knife. Meanwhile, Tuan looked disheveled, his face covered in a red rash as he lay sprawled out. Trak Fong held his hand to check his pulse. The poison is spread quickly while we were running. We must quickly take him to find physician. But Nam looked at the bloodstain on the knife with a tense voice. This is a secret medicine of the Wanyan sect. Besides them, no one can cure it, and even if they could, it would take a lot of time to find. Jia Feng Banik, looking at his state, I'm afraid he's about to kick the bucket. At this moment, Anand had a conflicted and difficult expression. In his moment of conflicted difficulty, Anand shot to his feet, then took out a spirit pill and put it in Tuan's mouth. Trak Fong, standing beside them, asked in surprise. But Anand just said he will recover quickly. At this point, Trak Fong looked skeptical. Could it be a fake medicine? Then she turned and used all her strength to shake Tuan and shouted, Ha Tuan, you better wake up for me. If you don't wake up, we'll have to leave you behind to escape. After a while, Tuan's head was spinning. He held his forehead and said, All right, stop shaking. Any more shaking and I'm going to puke. At this moment, Trak Fong was moved, her eyes welling with tears as she wiped them away. It really worked. Thank you, Anand. But Anand just stood there bewildered. Just then, a person with long hair and modern attire appeared out of nowhere and ran over. She stared daggers at Trak Fong. At this moment, Trak Fong immediately recognized her. Atai, is that you? But then she bowed and reported to Anand. Several sects are searching for everyone. There are too many people for me to handle. There are 2 horses in the alley, You must leave this place. It's best to get out of the city. Anan agreed at once. All right, you carry that man. That person replied clearly. Then Anan turned to Trak Fong and said, Big sister, let's get to a safe place first and talk later. But she was still lost in thought and just replied, okay. The two of them watched as the person from before carried Tu on away. Why do those sects have their eyes on us? But Trak Fong just stared blankly after the girl from before, speculating to herself. Is she a Thai? She was carrying Tu on her back, her face covered by a thin veil. Before everyone arrived, besides the demon sect disciples, quite a few martial world figures had also gathered at Bai Yin. About 1 hour ago, at Bai Yin, the first floor was very crowded with customers waiting there. This Bak Hu Sin is truly cunning. To be able to disappear without a trace so quickly, he's no ordinary person. How could he have roamed the martial world and earned the title of poison doctor and medicine saint without being a little cautious? Now that there are no traces, where should we go to find him? Just then, a mysterious person stood high above, wearing a hat that completely covered their face and spoke loudly. The heavenly path primordial scripture has already fallen into someone else's hands. Even if you all find Bak Hu Sin, it won't solve any problems. Everyone below immediately questioned. You say the heavenly path primordial scripture has fallen into someone else's hands. So who is that person? That's right, baseless words. Who knows if you're trying to trick us, wanting to monopolize the secret manual for yourself? Immediately after, he scattered portraits of Trak Fong down. This person is named Ming Trak Fong. She is the court's martial world records official, and also the body collector for the Feng Mu sect. She brought 3 survivors with her. As for how the Feng Mu sect was annihilated, you all should understand clearly in your hearts, right? Everyone below picked up the portraits that were falling in front of them to observe. Right now, that Ming Trak Fong is on your upper floor. After that, they stood up in droves. Better to kill the wrong person than to let one escape. Go. Even the people from the demon sect were there. It seems what that person on the upper floor said has some credibility. I've faced Ming Trak Fong before. She does have some skills. Anyway, there are no other clues now. Let's capture her and question her first before deciding. Then another person said, Makes sense. Then it's every man for himself. Another scene at the foot of a towering mountain. 2 horses were galloping at great speed. Trak Fong, riding with Anan, furiously shouted, That Lu Yu, to actually dare to use the demon sect to harm me. Hearing that, Tu On was surprised. Lu Yu, someone you know? But Trak Fong's eyes were filled with hatred. Also a records official, she has always looked down on me. She must have received news from Bak Hu Sin, and to prevent those martial world figures from robbing her, she pulled such a move. What a despicable move. Suddenly the horse stumbled on something on the road, causing it to panic. Tu On was startled and shouted loudly. He held the girl from before tightly. Be careful. Trak Fong reacted in time and shouted, Big sister, get down. At this moment, Anan, who was riding with Trak Fong, was terrified and clung on tightly, screaming, We're done for. Suddenly, a group of people in black, their faces completely covered, appeared around Tu On and rushed forward, shouting, Those who stand in the way, kill. At this moment, Tu On majestically drew his sword. On the other side, Trak Fong yanked the horse's reins to a stop. Ahead was a chasm. She panicked. There's no road ahead. Stop. But the horse just kept its momentum and plunged down. At this moment, the 2 of them were falling even faster than birds. Then they plummeted without stopping. Anan clung tightly to Trak Fong, who was panicking and screaming loudly. Trak Fong just reached a hand upwards with a look of regret. I had just found hope, and I didn't even get to say a proper word to my sister. Atat. From a distance, a voice echoed, calling, Little A2, wake up. Trak Fong anxiously kept shaking the boy. This kid, you better wake up for me. Seeing him still motionless, she immediately gave the boy artificial respiration. A moment later, A2 coughed violently and vomited a pile of water. The boy blushed and covered his mouth. That was dangerous. Almost. Wait, did she just give me her breath? Seeing him awake, Trak Fong also breathed a sigh of relief. It's good that you're not dead. A2, however, was tormented inside. Why did it have to be in this kid's body? The boy's eyes sparkled as he asked, My chest still feels tight. That thing you just did, can you do it again? At that moment, 2 people ran over from a distance, calling, Ming Jia Fong, young master. Du ein Asket war den. Are your injuries serious? Trak Fong shook her head and said, I'm fine. Luckily, the place we fell wasn't high. A tree broke our fall. It's just a superficial wound. On the other side, the woman was also constantly checking on Atu. Young master, don't move. Let me check on you. Atu reassured her. I'm fine. You came too soon. Suddenly, Trak Fong made a strange request. This big sister, although the timing isn't quite right, but may I see your face? Atu secretly nodded. The girl understood and immediately removed her face veil, revealing the woman's face clearly. Trak Fong was momentarily stunned. How can this be? She doesn't look like her at all. By now, the girl had also pulled her veil back up. A voice from behind asked, Your eyes could be a face-changing technique? She quickly denied it. No, I was born this way. At this moment, Trak Fong beside her could no longer hold it together. Seeing this, Tuan asked, What's wrong? Is she your sister or not? Trak Fong sadly lowered her head. My sister and I are identical twins. We looked very much alike since we were little. But this big sister, apart from her eyes, has no other feature that resembles me. Hearing those words, Tuan quickly pulled her away. Then let's leave this place first. Let's go, you two. Then he instructed Trak Fong. Don't move. Your wound is still bleeding. Doesn't it hurt? I'll carry you. Atu watched the two of them leave, deep in thought. The girl beside him was puzzled. You're not going to tell her the truth? Atu said sadly. I don't want to make her sad. The girl was a little worried. But what if she finds out later? Atu said with resignation. Then let's hope that day comes a little later. Where are those guys? Killed them. Receiving a satisfactory answer, Atu's lips curled into a slight smirk. Is that so? They really got off easy. Very quickly, it was completely dark. At night, in a post station on the outskirts, the girl gently helped Trak Fong bandage her wound. After bandaging it, she even helped her put on her clothes. Suddenly, Trak Fong called out, Sister Titch. Her eyes sparkled as she asked, Can I hug you? The girl was stunned. At this point, Trak Fong had already rushed over, cheering joyfully. Big sister is the best. Thank you. The more she hugged the girl, the sadder Trak Fong became. Thank you. I'm sorry. It would be so good if you were really my big sister. Suddenly, Tuan pushed the door open and entered. You two, we've just investigated Lu Yu's whereabouts. Seeing the two of them lying on top of each other, he was stunned. You, what are you doing in this position? Atu, beside them, turned away with a gloomy face, while the two girls in the room were confused about what had happened. The two girls quickly stood up. Trak Fong even went over to scold him. Ha Tuan, why did you come in without knocking again? The other girl coughed lightly a few times and then spoke shyly. Young master, ha. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave first. Hearing that, Trak Fong immediately pleaded. Big sister, don't go. She pushed the girl to sit at the table. Sister Titch, please sit. Then she quickly poured water and offered it. Sister Titch, you worked hard applying medicine for me. Have a sip of water. Tuan and Atu were simultaneously annoyed. We've been busy all day and haven't had a sip of water. Big sister has never even poured water for me. At this moment, Trak Fong finally paid attention to the two of them. She turned and said, What are you two idiots standing there for? Continue, where did Liu go? Tuan replied with a serious face. The place she went is the capital city. Hearing that, Trak Fong looked excited. Come to think of it, it's been a long time since I visited old Ha. Let's go home. After that, the group set off immediately. 6 days later, they arrived at the capital city. As soon as they got home, someone had already set the table. The food is here. Trak Fong's eyes sparkled. There's mandarin fish. Old Ha heard this and remarked, Our Fang's taste hasn't changed a bit, has it? Then he laughed and said to everyone, Please, make yourselves a home. Don't be strangers. Trak Fong had just sat down when she quickly picked up a piece for the girl to try. This fish is my favorite dish. Sister Titch, have a taste. All right. Then she added warmly, There's a natural hot spring behind the mountain. After we eat, let's go for a soak. Hearing this, the girl hesitated. But Trak Fong insisted. It's really relaxing. Come on, let's go. At this, the girl had to agree. All right then. Atu witnessed this and grew even more jealous. Before, she was picking food for Ha Tuan. Now she's picking food for her and even wants to go to the hot spring. There's nothing for me. Tuan saw his expression and immediately picked up a piece of vegetable for him. Here, kid, take this. The boy looked bewildered. I don't. Tuan insisted, pushing it forward. No defusing. What? Atu's face darkened as if he wanted to run away. At this moment, Old Ha laughed and spoke up to ease the tension. Don't just eat vegetables. Here, kids need to eat ribs like this to grow tall. Atu accepted it, flustered. Thank you, sir. Looking at the rib placed in his bowl, his heart was filled with thoughts. How nostalgic. Do all fathers in this world say things like that? Then he brought it to his mouth to taste. Old Ha then asked, how is it? To your liking? Atu replied with tears in his eyes. Yes, it tastes just like how my father used to make it. Very quickly, night fell. Behind a mountain, while soaking in the hot spring, Track Fong grumbled. It's been almost 10 days now. Why is it too still in that small body? The girl beside her explained, last time the young master brought me to see you, in order to hide the changes in his body, he forced himself to circulate his energy to trigger the poison. I think that might be the reason. Hearing this, Track Fong was startled and exclaimed, then is it possible he'll never grow big again? The girl immediately dismissed the thought. Definitely not. That person will surely find a way. After all, he is. Track Fong was relieved. That's good. Hey, why do you keep your back to me, sister? Do you want me to scrub your back for you? The girl shyly obliged. Yes, I'll have to trouble you then. Track Fong said cheerfully, no problem. Then sit up. I'll help you scrub your back. All right. In the men's bath, Tuan saw him bathing while still clothed and spoke up. Kid, don't tell me you're afraid of drowning. Come over here with Big Brother. The water is shallow here. Atu quickly refused. There's no need. His heart was filled with unease. This is bad. I just let my guard down for a moment, and this guy dragged me here for a soak. The mark must absolutely not be seen by others. I just hope Tik-On doesn't expose it. At this moment, Tuan moved closer to the boy. Why are you still wearing clothes in a hot spring? How uncomfortable must that be? Take them off. I'll go dry them for you. Atu hurriedly shouted, no need. Tuan didn't give up. We're all boys here. What are you shy about? Atu struggled. I don't want to. Get away from me. I'm not taking them off. Then the boy shouted loudly, don't you come over here. The shout carried all the way to the women's bath. The girl muttered worriedly, young master, are you all right? Track Fong called out to stop him. Ha Tuan, don't bully him. He replied, just having a little fun. Then he glanced over at Atu. Late at night, in the study of the Ha residence, Track Fong remarked, it's a good thing you still remember the secret signal. Did you find anything? Tuan took out a drawing he had sketched from memory. This is what I saw on Atu's shoulder. It's probably the symbol of some sect. The way he hides it, I feel like something's not right. Take a look and see if you've ever seen it. Track Fong took it and observed it carefully, her expression growing darker and darker. This is the tattoo of the Wanyan sect. A bold thought emerged. They really are people from the demon sect. Track Fong carefully thought it over again. But throughout the journey, he hasn't done anything that a demon sect member would do. Never mind, I should just continue to observe for now. Then she immediately shook her head and denied it. I've never seen it. Hearing this, Tuan was also at a loss. Even you don't know. Then we'll just have to find someone else to investigate. She looked at him and sighed inwardly. If this straightforward and hot-blooded guy finds out, I won't be able to control the situation. Then Track Fong said, it's not that important anyway. Let's discuss it later. Outside, the girl had overheard their conversation. After that, the girl immediately turned back. Young master, a voice came from inside. Come in. The girl immediately reported the situation. Although Ming Track Fong didn't say anything, I'm afraid if they investigate carefully later, it's hard to guarantee it won't be exposed. Young master, if you don't want to hurt her, we can't stay here any longer. Atu quickly replied, it's not time yet. Let's wait until the day they find out, then we'll leave. The girl still wanted to dissuade him, young master. But Atu waved his hand. That's enough. You may leave. Understood. As she walked away, her thoughts wandered. The sect leader is now trapped by emotions. In that case, let me make the choice for you. The next morning, Tuan went to Atu and asked, Atu, have you seen Ming Track Fong and the others? Atu quickly jumped up and denied it. No, aren't they in their room? Tuan explained the situation. They're gone. She would never leave without a word, and there are no signs of a break-in or a fight in the room. It's strange. Hearing this, he immediately turned and walked away quickly. Could it be? Seeing that action, Tuan realized something was wrong. Wait, where are you going, kid? Have you figured it out? Where are they? Atu quickly said, I can't say. But rest assured, in a few days, I will bring her back safe and sound. Tuan immediately asked suspiciously, who exactly are you? He stammered for a long time. I am a Tuesday. His expression changed instantly, and he added a warning, fine. I hope you can do as you say. If not, no matter who you are, no matter where you hide, Tuan will definitely not spare you. And one day later, somewhere, Track Fong asked irritably, "Where on earth is this place?" The maid didn't answer, only bowing her head and saying, "Young lady must be hungry. Please have your meal first." Trak Fong remained stubborn. "I'm not eating. Either let me go or call your master out here." But when she looked down at the table, she wavered a little. "Today's dishes are all my favorites." Then she sniffed the fragrance on her clothes. "The scent has been changed. It's the osmanthus fragrance that I like." If that's the case, Trak Fong decided to make things difficult for them. She pointed at the food on the table. "How am I supposed to eat vegetarian dishes like this? Look at this fish. What's the difference between this and steamed fish?" The servant replied, "The master has instructed that the young lady's stomach is not well, so she cannot eat greasy or spicy food." Trak Fong immediately realized, as expected. Then she said stubbornly, "Go, tell your master that if he doesn't come see me, I will go on a hunger strike." The maid was a little flustered At this moment, Atu walked over. "Sister, why must you be like this? It pains my heart." Seeing him arrive, the maid bowed. "Master." Atu waved his hand slightly. "You may leave." "Yes." Trak Fong immediately sneered. "So you've changed back? Speak. Why did you suddenly imprison me for no reason?" He quickly sat down and explained, "This is a great injustice. How could I bear to treat you like this, sister? It was Tikon who acted on her own. Don't be angry, sister. I have already punished her. This kind of thing will never happen again." Hearing this, Trak Fong just asked coldly, "So what? What is your true identity?" Atu asked back, his eyes dangerous, "Do you really want to know, sister?" But she insisted firmly, "Speak, but you'd better think carefully. I don't like being deceived by others." He said frankly, "The leader of the Wanyan sect, Nantu." Hearing this, Trak Fong was stunned. "Sect leader," Nantu added with an innocent look, "but although I'm the sect leader, I only took the position less than a year ago. This past year, I've been busy rectifying internal affairs and have never harmed anyone." At this, Trak Fong immediately retorted indignantly, "You say you've never harmed anyone, but what about the other members of the Wanyan sect? Did the Feng Mu sect on Songming Mountain just annihilate itself? Is this what you call rectification? Fine. To think I actually thought you were forced to join the demon sect. I can't believe that Ming Trak Fong, would randomly pick someone up and end up with our great sect leader." Hearing those words, he lowered his head sadly. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hide my identity. You know as well, the Wanyan sect is condemned by everyone in the martial world. I was just." He hesitated for a long time at this point, not too afraid of losing you. Trak Fong could only grit her teeth and endure it. Then she immediately stood up. "Forget it. You're the dignified leader of a sect. How could you end up wandering in a deserted temple?" Nantu quickly followed her. "The right emissary of the old sect leader tried to assassinate me while my poison was acting up. My injuries were too severe. I had no choice but to flee temporarily, recuperating while waiting for an opportunity." Trak Fong waved her hand and said, "All right then. If you're done talking, you could just wait for your opportunity. Lastly, I suggest you find a way to cure your poison. After all, you're out now. You could try looking for that poison doctor and medicine saint, Bak Hu Sin." At this moment, he suddenly grabbed her hand. "Sister, you want to leave?" Trak Fong said nonchalantly, "I still need to find the heavenly path primordial scripture, and my sister, of course I have to go." Then she struggled to free her hand from his. Nantu gritted his teeth, his tone turning strange. "Don't be in such a hurry. The heavenly path primordial scripture is on me. Do you want it, sister?" Hearing this, Trak Fong immediately stopped. "The heavenly path primordial scripture is on you? Weren't you saying it was with so beat hack?" Nantu replied calmly, "Of course." She clenched her fists in anger. "Even though I didn't attend class much, don't you dare try to fool me." Then Nantu pulled her hand. "Just come with me, and you'll see." Trak Fong had a contemptuous look on her face. "Let's see what you can possibly produce." Nantu walked to the corner of the room and gently turned the pillar next to it. The rumors outside were just a ruse to lure So Beat Hack out. As he spoke, a door opened. Trak Fong was momentarily stunned upon hearing this. "What? Do you two have some kind of grudge?" The secret door opened to reveal something emitting light. Nantu picked it up and began to recount as he took it. "I was young at the time. I only remember that one day, my father brought home a man who was seriously injured and unconscious. Those images came flooding back. Nantu hid carefully under the table, while outside, screams echoed continuously. Kill! Kill them all for me." The boy was terrified, but continued his sad tale. "After that person woke up, he began to kill like a madman. My parents couldn't fight back and were killed by him. I only found out later that so beat hack was forcibly given demonic power by the old sect leader of the Wanyan sect, causing him to suffer a chi deviation. A madman like him couldn't distinguish whether my parents were good or bad people. In his eyes, there was only killing. Track Fong also sighed sadly. Some people clearly do nothing, yet everything they do is wrong. In a martial world, no one can just look out for themselves. Nantu turned his face away and said, "Moreover, before I met you, sister, I had received news that So Beat Hack had already died 10 years ago. In the end, I can't even be the one to avenge my family's murder." At this moment, Track Fong suddenly rushed forward and hugged him tightly. His eyes were sad. Hugging her tightly, he said softly, "So to me now, the heavenly path primordial scripture is of no use anymore." Then he pushed Track Fong away, smiling as he handed it over. "If sister wants it so much, then I'll give it to you." Track Fong opened it to look and said in confusion, "This secret manual, from its mental cultivation methods to its techniques, no matter how I look at it, it doesn't seem like a method for cultivating immortality." Nantu then fanned out his folding fan. "Sister, you're not wrong. However, it can make others transform just like me." Track Fong was quite surprised, "Just like you." Nantu took out a few pills, of course. "It's about freely growing larger or smaller, just as you said, sister. Just by taking this poison and cultivating that secret manual, you will succeed." His voice gradually became sinister. "Sister, would you like to try a little?" Track Fong forced a smile and waved her hand. "No, thank you." She folded the secret manual. "Although it's not as amazing as the rumors say, it's still very precious and rare. You're just giving it to me like this?" He immediately wrapped his arms around her waist. "As long as sister wants it, let alone this secret manual, even I, this sect leader, can be offered up to you." Track Fong blushed and turned away. "Don't stop with the sweet talk. Just tell me your condition." At this point, Nantu became serious. "Before that, please follow me to a place, sister." Track Fong followed in silence. The two arrived at a forest. Standing before a grave, she was stunned, then placed a fruit in front of the grave. She asked in confusion, "Why is there no name carved on this tombstone?" Nantu replied sadly, "Because I still don't know her real name." Going back 10 years in a gloomy prison, Nantu was huddled in a corner. "So hungry, so thirsty, am I about to die? Father, mother, Nanner is so cold." Meanwhile, a girl used her own blood to soak a half-eaten bun. The little girl passed it to the adjacent cell. "Hey, don't be afraid, you won't die." Recalling this, he lamented, "She saved me right when I was on the verge of death. But because of that, she also became my weakness." At this moment, a figure walked over and gave an order. "Within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, kill everyone in the prison. Rest assured, if you die in there or don't get out in time, this little brat here." The little girl was dragged out, will be thrown to a pack of wolves to be eaten. Nantu stood there grimly. The old sect leader wanted to make me work for him, used her as a pawn to threaten me. A horrifying voice echoed continuously, "Very good. After so many years, I have finally waited for someone who can master this self-cultivation method. It won't be long before the leader of the demonic sect is born, and then he will work for me." At this point, he was eliminated by Nantu's surprise attack. His eyes were filled with rage. From then on, not a day went by when my hands weren't stained with blood, countless killings like an endless hell. But as long as that light was still there, everything was bearable. But at that time, I didn't know that the light would be swallowed by darkness. Nantu anxiously ran to the little girl. "Sister, don't be afraid. We've survived again." The little girl then took a shard from her sleeve, her eyes streaming with tears, and said, "A2, I don't want to be your weakness anymore. Let me be free." As she finished speaking, the little girl fell. In the distance, Nantu cried out in anguish, trying to stop her, "Don't." The little girl weakly said, "I'm sorry." Nantu quickly hugged the little girl, repeatedly calling out loud, "No, sister, sister." Returning to the present, Nantu took a jade pendant from his chest. "This is the only relic of hers that I found after killing the old sect leader. I think I should give it to you." Track Fong took the jade pendant. She observed it closely for a long time. Tears also slowly rolled down. "Atai." She sat down heartbroken beside the grave. After which the name was carved onto the tombstone, "My long-lost sister, Mingyu. After recovering from her painful emotions, Trak Fong turned to ask, "You gave me the heavenly path primordial scripture and told me all these things. Do you want me to hate you?" Hearing this, Nan too felt a sense of loss. "So that's what you think? I never thought you would hate me. I just want you to stay, to be by my side forever." After she passed away, the old sect leader used dark arts to transplant her eyes into Tik-On. It was your sister who gave Tik-On the chance to see the light again. If you agree, Tik-On will treat you as well as a real sister. Hearing this, Trak Fong found it ridiculous. "Stay? Why should I stay? Why am I not allowed to hate you? If A-Tai hadn't saved you in the beginning, perhaps she wouldn't have died." Trak Fong quickly refused. He had no choice but to tell the truth. "That's not it. That old sect leader captured children to practice dark arts. Your sister." Trak Fong turned away, not listening to the explanation. "Enough. It's too late to say anything now. Besides, what do you take me for? A substitute for A-Tai, right?" Nantu replied sadly, "I admit that at the beginning, it was indeed because you resembled her, but later, being with you every day, I could feel that you are not her." He began to confess again. "I saw her as the light because that place was too dark, extremely dark, with no hope in sight. I was afraid I would go mad, even more afraid of being alone. I needed a presence that could help me keep on living." Then a radiant image of Trak Fong appeared. "But after getting to know you, I learned what true light is. You always have a smile on your face. Even in desperate situations, you can still lift your spirits, never thinking of giving up. I cannot see darkness where you are." But her, now that I recall, she was always pessimistic and melancholic. Her smile was just a forced effort to please me. I was always forcing her. To her, perhaps I was the one holding her back. Hearing this, Trak Fong let out a soft laugh. "Are you perhaps going to say next that I am the one you truly like?" Nantu was flustered. He looked at his own hands and lamented, "These hands have long been dirty. How could I dare to touch you?" Suddenly, Trak Fong said, "I will be yours." Nantu's face flushed red. Then she moved forward for a light kiss. I will wait. I will wait for you to return no matter how long it takes." "Good boy." Trak Fong then hugged him tightly. "You will get your wish." The story ends here. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and share so I have more motivation to make more videos. Remember to follow to watch the next episodes. Wish you all a day full of energy.